The back from the Brink project is looking to save 19 nationally endangered species, and orchid, large component of that. To grow these rare plants, we know that we need large populations of the plants, and most of them are down to small populations in the vicinity of 10 to 15 plants. We really need the populations to be somewhere in the vicinity of 200 to 300 plants. The way we do that is by growing them, and that's been where the partnership with the Seed Centre has been really invaluable. They have a seed bank with a lot of these endangered orchids, and they also have the fungus that's required to grow those orchids, and those two components have been critical. In fact, we really couldn't do the work without the Seed Conservation Centre.
My name's Dan Naval. I work for the SAC Conservation Centre here at the Botanic Gardens of South Australia. Today we're putting on a display of some of the rare orchids that we're propagating as part of the projects that we deliver on. We have a number of threatened orchid species in South Australia, and some of these are down to a single population. We're trying to develop techniques to propagate these plants both in the lab and the nursery and reintroduce these plants. There is no reason to keep these plants rare, and we know there's consequences for watching their decline. So we know that there's impacts on other species, whether they be wasps or other insects, if we do lose these orchid species. This is the leafy greenhood. It is called Pterostylis cuculata. It's a nationally endangered plant. It occurs at a couple of sites in Mount Lofty, and one of those places is Lobethal Bushland Park, which is a reserve in the hills. We could no longer find this plant after the bushfire, so in 2020 we searched for plants and couldn't find them, and the same thing in this year. We couldn't actually relocate any re-emergent plants. So that plant population has actually gone extinct at that locality. But fortunately, we've actually been growing this particular plant using fungus in the last year or two, and this week we actually reintroduced 116 plants to Lobethal Bushland Park.
So each one of the orchids is pollinated by unique wasp species, and it uses sexual deception. And so the orchid actually looks like a female wasp and attracts the male wasp, who gets the pollen stuck on its back and then flies off to another flower. A complicated pollination strategy like that, unlike wind pollination or other insect pollination, has really low success for pollination. So you might think about 10% of the population would get pollinated. If you have 100 plants, that's only going to be 10 plants that pollinate, forming seed and dropping seed. So we do need to get those populations large enough that the pollination success creates a large volume of seed dropping into the environment. The second part is that every orchid species has a unique fungus which it grows with. So the orchid seed is tiny, it's like dust. It doesn't have any energy stores for growing, so it's just really a packet of DNA. It uses a mycorrhizal fungus in the ground to provide the energy to grow. So the fungus grows across the seed and creates a little protocorm, eventually forming a little leaf. And in about 3 years it has a tuber and flowers. Now the chances of that happening in the wild are pretty slim. So here at the Seed Centre it's all done in a laboratory under aseptic sterile conditions. The fungus is isolated and grown, the seed is added in, and then in about 3 years we have what's behind us, which is the orchid display. And so we're really proud to be working with these guys to do that work. The Hills and Fleurieu Landscape Board is in a unique position in being able to collaborate with the Adelaide Botanic Gardens and particularly the Seed Conservation Centre. There really isn't anywhere else in the state we have the expertise available to grow these endangered orchids. Just the laboratory setup that's available to do that is quite significant. Very specialised equipment. Add into that the knowledge that the Seed Centre has, and we're just extremely lucky to have that partnership.
I love being able the opportunity to actually conserve some of these species. I think if you can help prevent a species from going extinct in your lifetime, you've done something admirable.
And it's even better when you get to work with other passionate people that are just as committed to what we're doing and getting these things into the environment.
Being able to turn the demise of a plant species around from just a few individuals to hundreds, and see that this is going to be available to the next generation, it's a fantastic job.